Alright everyone, it'll be just one moment. Just setting up the final things, and we'll be good to go. Oh yeah! Alright. Make sure that I've got sound. Check, check, 1, 2. Cool. Alright, sound is on. So you guys can see me. Cool. You guys can see me. Yeah, I had a little fun shaving. Alright. Let's get into this. Okay, good afternoon everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Saturday, April 12th, 2014. And welcome to another episode of RoopleeTV. Hey, welcome everyone. RoopleeTV episode number 7. Yeah, getting up in the numbers. Alright. So, you know when you have that feeling of when everything feels like it's going okay, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden you realize you forget something and you've got like 30 seconds to do it? Yeah, that's what I did today. So I was getting ready for the show, everything was going nice and good, and then like literally 5 minutes before the show started, I forgot that I needed to like, you know, get ready for the morning and shower and shave and things. So I like quickly ran in, just tried to clean up my hair as much as I can and tried to shave, so pardon if you see a little couple cuts and nicks on my face, because I tried to shave in like record time and it's not necessarily the best thing ever. So it is what it is, but you know, it's one of those days where everything was going great. I was like, alright, I'm good to go, you know. Got everything ready, and then bam. So welcome everyone. Anyway, yeah, that's about all that's happening right now. Today I want to show you a game that I found quite interesting. It's a game of Titan versus Scythe. So Titan and Scythe are not as well known as like many of the other teams, but there are a lot of well-known players on there. There's Yamate, KYXY, Miracle, among others. But they all have, yeah, they have a lot of good players on the teams. So it's not, and a very different playstyle than what you would see just out of like an Alliance or a Na'Vi, which is really interesting. And picks and bans are different. The game plays differently. So, and I found this game pretty intriguing as far as what happened in the game and what transpired from the picks that they had earlier on. So we're going to go into it, analyze it, and hopefully give you another idea on like what happens in team games, especially with picks that you wouldn't normally consider orthodox. Again, now they are more orthodox picks. It's just the game plan is very well defined from level 1, what they want to do and how they want to accomplish it. So it's just a different way of looking into it. Sorry about that. It is a different way of looking into it and a different way of approaching the game. So it's a very refined and narrow strategy, which is really, really good if you don't know what you're doing. So teams like Alliance and Na'Vi and, you know, IG and teams that have like won the international or gotten really, really far, they have a very broad spectrum of what they can do, and they can also mesh these spectrums of what they can do together. So they can have heavy push lineups, and they can have heavy gank lineups, and then heavy carry lineups. But what they can do is they can also mix that in, like say a Spectre carry along with some, like, they can do a Spectre carry along with a Nyx Assassin mid, so that they have this ganking potential early on, and then they have this crazy late game. So the teams that have been around a lot longer and have a lot more team synergy, they can do these things a lot more easily. But if you have a newer team or a team that's not as familiar with each other, oftentimes you'll just find very narrow strategies. So you'll be like, this narrow strategy, that narrow strategy, and this possibly third narrow strategy. Okay, there we go. There's where the camera is. Cool. So, like, they'll go with those three main strategies, and not very, very much. Like, there won't be much differential as far as what to do. A good example of this is the old Team Empire. They would go and they would always have aggressive tri-lanes with Undying in the team, and they would just always have this one makeup where they would aggressive tri-lane and then force you not to be able to carry the game. And that's how they would win the game, with just aggression from minute 0. With an aggressive tri-lane, an aggressive ganker, and then, you know, some form of carry to just pull them through the game. Team Empire, the old Team Empire, was really known for that. And it worked really, really well for them until they started to get figured out, and then they have to adapt their strategy. And that makes it more difficult. But if you are not, like, at a very, very high level, which, you know, anyone in pub levels is not at a pro level, go for narrow objective-based strategies, and they're really, really effective. Just because you don't have the broad sense that these guys do in order to play the game necessarily. So here we go. We're going to jump into the game. Here's the game ID. Again, I'll try to put it into the YouTube video. If I forget, give a shout out to me. Let me know that I forgot the game ID if you want to check it out. This is from the joinDota League. So, yeah, like always, check out the joinDota League if you want to see the game. But this one got quite a good amount of reviews and successes from that. So, let's hop into the game. Alright, so we're getting the game up and loaded. Free camera. Cool. Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about these picks because it's very targeted picks because they have more refined strategies, especially Scythe. Miracle has some very defined strategies and very defined heroes that he plays. So, they ban out Naga Siren. Always a first ban against Miracle. Miracle's Naga Siren is the best in the world as a #1 carry. And the other three are a lot more standard. Lycan, Centaur, and Batrider. So Invoker is still left in the pool, and Scythe picks up the Invoker. But they also leave Ember Spirit in the pool. So that's a tactic normally used in drafting, and I've talked about this before, where you will leave 2 high priority picks in the pool and force whoever is the first pick to pick one of the high priority, and then you get the other one. So it's, you know, instead of being like a game of nobody gets good hero or nobody gets the best heroes, it's like everybody gets the best heroes, and we'll just see what happens. So yeah. And that's about all I have to say about that pick. We could probably go a little bit farther. So there is the Ember Spirit pickup. No big surprise there. And then after the Ember Spirit pickup, we will see maybe here. Let's see what we see. Nature's Prophet. So the Nature's Prophet pickup. He's a fairly versatile hero. Not necessarily the most versatile because it kind of lays out what you want to do with him. We will be seeing Ohai play the Nature's Prophet this game, so, and KYXY will be playing the Ember Spirit, but hopefully I didn't spoil too much there. Interesting thing about Ember Spirit is he can be played as a carry or as a mid position, as we saw before with Arteezy and TC playing 2 different styles of Ember Spirit. So, like, he can be played as a mid-roll with getting, you know, phase boots, bottles, drums into big damage items, or he can be played as a carry to get big damage items earlier, but not have as good of an early game. So, Scythe bans out Spectre and Chen, and Titan bans out Clinks, and Titan's focus on this banning phase is they want to make sure that Ember Spirit can safely lane and safely farm. Clinks gets banned out because Clinks has Orchid. Once Clinks gets Orchid, which is generally pretty early into the game, probably like, you know, the 15-minute mark, more or less. Once Clinks gets that Orchid, Ember Spirit cannot farm safely without a Linken's, because he can die in 5 seconds to Clinks. So they know that if Ember gets silenced, he is down. So another good way to stop Ember is to doom him. So they ban the doom. And they pick up the Sand King for net. So Sand King is a really good space creator. He's been around like a lot in previous games, not so much recently, but he can play a huge impact, and especially with the 0-mana Blink Dagger, he's really, really powerful in the laning phase. I didn't talk much about the Shadow Shaman, so speaking of other heroes, but Titan did pick up the Sand King, so that's a good team fight initiation. Titan looks like they're going for awesome team fight. Scythe already has Invoker for great team fight, and Shadow Shaman is awesome at team fight. He's also an interesting support. Used to be played a lot during TI2 when you had very farm-heavy games and longer games. You would pick the Shadow Shaman because Shadow Shaman only gets better as time goes on. He's got disables early on, but then once he gets some levels, his wards do a massive amount of damage and can push really, really well. They're good in team fights and in pushing, so that's what Shadow Shaman's strengths are. The Nyx Assassin gets picked up by Scythe. More and more we've been seeing Nyx Assassin as an offlane solo hero, and that is because he, as a mid hero, he tends to fall off pretty early. As a support hero, he tends to come online pretty late, so he needs more experience than he usually gets in the support role, unless you're really good at stacking, pulling, and ganking. Then you can do Nyx Assassin, but the Nyx Assassin as an offlane role is just focusing on getting that level 6 up fairly early and then trying to get a Blink Dagger for initiation. Kind of like a Bat Rider, honestly. Nyx Assassin is played as a similar role as the Bat Rider, hence why he's played as an offlane solo. But the reason why he can play offlane solo is twofold. First off, Nyx Assassin has a massive, massive health regen. It's something like, I think he gets an extra 2.3 base health regen per second. Basically, he has a Ring of Regen at level 1 on top of normal stats. And Spike Carapace helps keep him alive too. He has 2 disables and he has a lot of health regen, so he can take hits. Just put a Stout Shield on him since he's a melee hero, and you really can't kill him very much. Titan does pick up the Ancient Apparition. So Titan's goal right now is just, you know, we're going to get team fight, we're going to win team fights, and we're going to secure the late game with the Ember Spirit, who's, like I said, one of the best team fight carries in the game. Spectre is another good one, which is why Scythe banned that out. Like, Spectre is also one of the best team fight carries in the game. Just always wants to be in the team because the more damage Spectre takes, the more damage the enemy team takes. So the Ancient Apparition just solidifies their team presence. On top of that, it says that, you know, Sand King's ultimate is going to be doing 25% more damage because of Ice Vortex, or 30% more damage because of Ice Vortex, as well as the slow. And it gives them more early game presence too. And Scythe picks up Enigma. So Scythe recognizes this team fight potential and just fights fire with fire, honestly. The Titan doesn't have too many, they don't have too many lockdowns. As long as Enigma can dodge Sand King's stun, then they're fine. So Sand King is going to stun, and then Enigma is going to be able to ult. He probably won't need a BKB for that reason. Ember Spirit can use his Searing Chains, but that's, yeah. There are Searing Chains and there's the stun. Ancient Apparition stun won't go into effect in time, and Enigma is, in general, a greedy pick, especially in this position. Like, Nyx Assassin will offlane solo, and Enigma will be dedicated to the jungle. So that being said, Enigma as a jungler is a a pretty greedy pick. Like, you're basically saying our lanes are going to be secure early game, so we're going to focus on, you know, having some mid-game dominance. Because right now, as it stands, all of these heroes will be at their peaks around the same time. So they'll have a massive mid-game presence. And they have two options to go from this. Either they can go for late game, or they can go for more mid-game dominance, which Titan bans out the Viper. Which Viper would just be able to solidify their mid-game dominance. And also, if Titan wants to run Ember Spirit mid, then Viper would just crush Ember Spirit mid. Like, there's nothing Ember Spirit can do to win that lane against the Viper. And then, yeah, it would limit their options. So Scythe knows that they need to have either a more impactful mid game, or they need to outcarry Ember Spirit plus whatever Titan picks up for their last hero on top of a Nature's Prophet. They already have Sand King and Ancient Apparition. Ember Spirit will probably go mid. In fact, I know, and he does go mid this game. So, but Scythe bans out the Night Stalker because they figure Ember Spirit will be the carry. Ember Spirit is, like I said, play carry or mid, but generally played as a carry, so most people expect him to carry a game. And then Titan's choice right here is either to lane a mid against Scythe, or to just pick up a carry. So they can lane a mid and focus on having a decent but not as good mid game as Scythe has right now, because Enigma's Black Hole, Nyx Assassins, Stun, Vendetta, everything, and Invoker's massive damage on top of Shadow Shaman's team fight would secure a massive mid game. So Titan, what they do is they opt for the, we're going to win late game. Like, flat out. They're like, if the game goes late enough, we're going to have an advantage. Because Ember Spirit is massive with farm. Faceless Void is one of the best carries with farm. His skills scale incredibly well. I mean, he dodges 25% of all attacks, both physical and magical. And he stuns 25% of the time. And his ultimate stops time. So, Scythe does a very smart thing here, and they actually opt for the Shadow Fiend. Miracle is going to be playing Shadow Fiend. And as a general, the Scythe team itself, Miracle is a very well-known player and actually quite young too. But he's a very well-known player, especially for his Naga Siren, among other heroes. So Scythe's goal is to be a mid-game powerhouse. They want to win this mid-game. They want to win it hard. If you look at the teams right now, Shadow Fiend and Invoker's peaks are at the exact same time. They're pretty much like the same type of role. Shadow Shaman, he gets better as the game goes past the early game. And the mid-game is strong. Nyx Assassin peaks at the early mid-game. And Enigma is fantastic around the mid-game. So they want to go for mid-game team fights. Whereas, pardon me, Titan, they want to go for some ganks because they have like Nature's Prophet and things like that, and they want to go for a later game. So they're going to hold off more, and Ancient Apparition's ult on top of Sleight of Fist on top of Sand King are going to keep the waves pushed back while Faceless Void farms. So while Yamate farms on the Faceless Void, they're going to just keep their towers alive as best they can against the pushing Enigma Shadow Shaman lineup. Scythe is going to be looking to get those early towers to secure their farm to go into mid-game dominance. Like I said, they don't want it to go late. I've said that multiple times, but actually I want to check out. So this is not the first game in the series, and Scythe played Enigma before. So what Ohai does is he skills teleportation level 1, immediately goes here, wards this camp, wards this camp, wards this camp, and last but not least, he goes up here and he wards this camp. So they have a small camp. That's it. They have a small camp and nothing else for the entire jungle. And they don't know this because Ohai actually spent his first level on teleport, which means he will have to cliff jungle, which I want to say something. So, cliff jungling is not the most efficient way to play Nature's Prophet. So they know that if they shut down the Enigma, they will cut down on this mid-game dominance. So they sacrifice Nature's Prophet's level 1 Treants, which gives them probably about 50% faster farm, on top of just being by himself, for shutting down the Enigma. So it's a sacrifice that Titan's willing to make to cut down on Scythe. Because the Enigma, while he's a really, really, really fast jungler, once it gets into the mid-game, Nature's Prophet is way better at catching up from any form of loss from the early game. Enigma shines on the early game, just jam through the jungle. He can actually get more farm than a solo lane. He can get more experience than a solo lane. Well, not so much since they lowered the experience, but he can get like equivalent experience and gold as a solo carry safe lane farming, like free farming. That's how fast Enigma can jungle. So if they can cut down on that, they can cut down on the mid-game presence of Scythe and go for, and then Titan will be able to go for a later game. So even moves like that get them to go for the later game pushes. So here's Nature's Prophet walking back. We're going to go ahead and go for this. Alright, cool. So yeah, this does mean Ohai is going to have to cliff jungle, but this is one thing that as an Enigma you should do. So Enigma has no items except for 3 clarities at level 1. You don't need regen early on, and you want to get your soul ring as quickly as possible to efficiently jungle, but this is actually super important to do as an Enigma. Go into mid, pop the first creep wave with your demonic conversion, and then you run back to the fountain as quickly as possible, fill up your mana, and then you can go into the jungle with your second pop. So he pops this, and these 3 dudes right here are going to help Miracle in the early game. So they won't really die by the time they get down there. They do only have 180 hit points, but they're being controlled right now by Chibi. So Chibi will be able to just basically help out Miracle just a little bit and shut down the experience from KYXY just a little bit with these. Yeah, so yeah, he only has like 10 seconds here with them. So what's really cool right here, and I want to talk about, is that Ancient Apparition X picks up a haste rune, and he's going towards mid to gank the Miracle, who leveled Shadow Rays at level 1, which is not very common. Like, most people don't level Shadow Rays at level 1, they level Necromastery, but in this case, Miracle wants to be sure that he's safe from tower dives. If somebody tower dives him, he can cast all 3 of these raises at level 1 for, a total of 225 damage, which is pretty big. So he does that, but watch what the Enigma does here. So the Enigma is way up here. He's walking towards this creep camp to try and, farm. Oh, I forgot to show you that Invoker did drop a ward right here, and that was able to cut out this ward right here and this ward right here. So they know they have this medium camp and this large camp at the very least. They were not able to get this one or this one, but they have at least 2 camps for Enigma to farm. But anyway, Enigma is up here, and his Eidolons are down here, and it's really, really awesome. I'm going to slow this down even to give you an idea of how awesome this is. So we're going to go back in, pick up the haste rune from Titan, and he's going to skill Chilling Touch, which is 50 damage for each attack. And I want to show you what Chibi does on the Enigma, and this actually saves Miracle's life. Not to spoil anything, but it does save Miracle's life. So Miracle sees that KYXY is coming, is in trouble, and what happens here is that Chibi brings his Eidolons right here. And that prevents Ember Spirit from safely being able to use Searing Chains on the Shadow Fiend. Because right now Titan was pretty sure that they were going to get that kill beforehand. But having the Eidolons here, when KYXI was here, and X was right up here, ensures that at best Shadow Fiend only has a 50% chance to get Searing Chain because this picks 2 random targets in the radius. So by being able to do that, Chibi from up here was able to stop Miracle from getting Searing Chained. And then when they go forward, as you can see, massive damage with that plus 50 damage. Yeah, Ancient Apparition still has 1 attack from his bonus, and then KYXY still has 2 attacks, but they had to do it right here behind the tower in order to try and get that kill. So that one small play was able to save Miracle his life. As you can see, he still has hit points, but just those 3 extra attacks would have been enough to kill him. And poor Nyx Assassin is getting nothing up here, but that's okay. Nature's Prophet. It's cliff jungling. So normally you have those creeps cleared out by 52, 53 seconds if you don't opt for the cliff jungling strategy. So, like I said, about 50% less efficient. Miracle is still going to farm up. He got his level 2, so he's not set too far back by getting Necromastery second, but the safety of having the Necromastery second and having Shadow Rays at level 1 just made it so that KYXY could not dive. He saw that Miracle cast that at level 1 and was able to just say, hey, okay, I can't dive. So what's going to happen now is that Ohio is able to hit level 2, which means that Miracle is still playing super aggressively up here. And they know this. Obviously, Titan knows this. So X smokes up, is going from behind, and then Nature's Prophet is going to try and gank, using the tree assist to tank. But at the same time, they still cannot catch Miracle. They just can't catch him. So like that was a failed gank, and it cost Ohai a lot of time. I mean, Ohai soaked up that experience from mid. He was just level 2. But Enigma, even with only 2 camps, is almost level 3. So it's almost an entire level of difference between the two of them. Just from like that failed gank attempt and having to cliff jungle. So like if they would have shut down the other 2 camps, Chibi would have had nothing. And since they were able to shut down the camps, but they got denied, Ohai is in a much worse position than Chibi is, as far as farm goes. Nyx Assassin is getting nothing. The only thing he can do is he can sit right here and soak this camp of experience. He can soak half of this experience, because Net's getting half of this, and then Nyx Assassin down here is getting the other half. So he can actually see when his experience goes up to know when the creeps die. And yeah. And then he just goes and he collects whatever creeps he can afterwards, which is one creep. So an interesting thing to note here is that right here, X Freedom, who is under the tag of Infinity, is just securing farm for Polison in the safe lane. He is not really helping out Miracle much, even though Miracle probably needs it with the rotations between Nature's Prophet, as well as just, yeah, the Nature's Prophet and the Ancient Apparition rotations are just really shutting down Miracle. And that's one thing that Titan really knows they need to do. So because Miracle is such a well-known player and is known to essentially like propel his team through the late game, Titan knows that if they shut down Miracle early, he can't be that propeller for Scythe to just swoop in and take the game later on. Miracle plays an awesome Naga Siren, like I said before, but he also plays a fantastic Morphling. And the focus for those types of games are generally to make sure that Miracle gets crazy amounts of farm and then just hammers down the enemy base. Like, just hammers the enemy base. It's not even Rat Dota. It's like Boulder Dota. Because he's just going for it. And even though he can still get away, the fact that Miracle can have just that kind of presence with those heroes makes him very powerful on Scythe's team. And Titan knows that they can't face that kind of power against Scythe. So they shut down Miracle's Shadow Fiend. And by shutting down his Shadow Fiend, they're able to secure a more comfortable mid-game to swing them into the late game, which is what they want to do. They want to not... They're going to be behind mid-game, even if they have a kill and experience and gold advantage, just because of the nature of the heroes. So if they can shut down one of the two powerhouses, the Invoker or the Shadow Fiend, then they can survive the mid-game, and that's Titan's goal. Scythe's goal is to make sure that Miracle gets that farm and that all of their heroes get farmed, because right now they're farming on so many fronts and so well that they're actually getting way better experience. So if we look, the Shadow Shaman is level 3. We've got the Ancient Apparition just hit level 2, so he's under leveled because he's been trying to gank mid. Net on the Sand King is still level 2. So like the experience is definitely going in Scythe's advantage. We've got the Enigma is level 4, whereas Ohai on the Nature's Prophet is still level 2. So like, besides the Nyx Assassin who's level 2, there's just a massive experience gain on the part of Scythe, and they want to make sure to maintain that throughout the game. So they're going to just focus on keeping that experience. This is why X-Freedom is just stacking and pulling. This camp is warded, otherwise he would chain pull, because chain pulling will always net you more experience and more gold than stacking and pulling. If you watch stacking and pulling, you actually aren't able to kill all of these creep camps. Like, you can't kill them with just these 4 creeps. It's just not possible. So like, he gets a couple of creep kills, but normally if you chain pull, you can kill this whole camp and you can kill a large camp with 4 creeps. So like, it's doubly, triply experience and gold than this right here. So he has like, he killed half of it. But since he doesn't have the large camp, he can't do that. One thing I do want to point out right now is that since Invoker is going for this mid-game, he's also going for mid-game items. He goes for phase boots, and he's going to go for like, he's going Quas Wex as well. Normally when we see safe lane Invokers, they usually go for the Exort builds, which are generally better later on, but they don't have that mid-game team control dominance. So Polison's going for the mid-game team control dominance, but also not opting for a Midas or anything greedy like that. He's just going for phase boots, and he's going to go and just basically ensure their mid-game. Whereas if we look at Yamate, for example, he has 1,400 gold. It looks like he might be going for Midas. Another possibility is the Battle Fury. So like, the only reason to, whoops, sorry, missed first blood. But the only reason to actually have that much gold is if you're going for a bigger item. So like, he's going for either a Midas or a Battle Fury early on. We'll go ahead and check out this first blood and why it actually worked. Now, since I totally missed that and I was derailing and talking about Faceless Void and what he was doing. So what happens here is that we've got Ember Spirit right here, and Nyx Assassin wants to impale the Ember Spirit because they think they have a kill. I mean, like, with 2 Shadow Raises, he's pretty much dead. Just straight up with the Shadow Raises. Stun, Shadow Raise, death. But at the same time, Titan has Ancient Apparition, and they also always have, well, not right now, but they usually have access to Ohai's Teleport. So the Nyx Assassin goes here. He tries to get the hit on, but one thing about KYXY is that he went for the 1-1-3 build, the super defensive build, because he knows that there's a lot of magic damage on Scythe's team, and having a 350 damage shield negates 1.5 of these Shadow Raises. Like, straight up cuts the damage away. So he's able to block the damage, even though it is before magic resistance. So he cuts 225 out of this one, and then he cuts another 125 out of the second one. But still, he only gets hit with 75 damage after magic resist for that second one, if he gets hit with both of them. And boom. So he goes for this defensive build, but at the same time, Ancient Apparition is able to come up here. He was able to go ahead and Sleight of Fist Searing Chains to keep him there for 2 seconds. The Ice Vortex slows him down, makes him get hit with 20% more damage from those right clicks from Ancient Apparition. Ohai came to the party a little late, but the Ice Vortex was enough to secure their kill, just from the extra damage and the 22% slow. That's why they were able to get that first blood. It was just from that. And that gives Ancient Apparition his boots, and he's going to soak up experience because Ancient Apparition needs level 6. So he's just going to go back and start focusing on level 6. Meanwhile, Faceless has nothing yet. He hasn't purchased anything. He does buy a Ring of Health, so he is going for the early Battle Fury build, which, again, reaffirms the fact that Titan wants to win this late game. Like, they don't want to... They want to make sure they have somebody winning the late game. So that means Faceless Void is going to be going for Battle Fury, you know, Butterfly, those type of big items, BKB, to win the late game, whereas KYXY is just going to go for, you know, phase drums type of thing. See, he already has the bracer for the drums. But this combo here, in case you didn't see it when I was talking about something else, is brutal. Like, that Sleight of Fist into Searing Chains, just teleport in, and then he uses his Fire Remnant to secure that kill. Just brutal against Shadow Fiend. So Shadow Fiend is having a really rough time, and they know they have to do this. They have to do this in order to stay ahead now. So before Infinity, as I'm going to call him from here on out because that's his name in here instead of X Freedom, is going to... He's still stacking this camp for the Enigma, but he's going to be sitting up here just so next time the Ember Spirit Ancient Apparition train comes in, he'll be able to help out. He's soaking experience up for now until the Shadow Fiend gets back, but they know that since Miracle has died twice already, that he really needs to catch up. Like, there's nothing about it. He needs to catch up. So they're essentially dual laning mid for the time being. He's trying to stay outside of experience range. So this is one thing, is that Miracle, he's still trying to get all of the experience he can from Miracle. Because if you look, his experience range is probably about out to the tower, maybe a little bit more. It's generally like a full screen length. So yeah, to about right here is where he would be leeching experience off of, and he doesn't want to leech too much experience. He was able to get a little his level 5 there, which is really important, but he's staying back here out of sight and hopefully not leeching too much experience from Miracle. He wants to get some experience, just not leech any, so he's going to just stand up here and make sure that Miracle gets some farm, because dying on a Shadow Fiend is like the worst thing ever. Ever. You lose half of your souls, so you lose your right-click damage for the next time, and you can lose the game from it. So, right here, Ember Spirit tried to jump on him with Ancient Apparition. They tried to do the same trick again, but X Freedom was here, and he was able to secure him. Also, he tried to de-ward this ward because they know there's a ward up here, but they just missed it, and that's brutal. That is brutal right there. Yeah. So, from all this action, Faceless Void is able to get as much farm as he wants. Nyx Assassin can't even really stay in the lane because of the fear of if Net ever comes in, they're dead. Like, Faceless Void's level 6, so Net can't stay in that lane anymore. He's just chilling back. And what they do right here is, since Miracle on Shadow Fiend is a really fast flash farmer in the jungle, he's farming the jungle while Enigma and Invoker were pushing up top. And then they're giving the experience and farm to the Shadow Shaman and the Nyx Assassin, who both desperately want level 6. They're just going to keep them both here in the lane. And Ohio is just here while Ember Spirit is up top. So Ember Spirit's up top. He's able to... So, a little bit about why this transition is going on. Ember Spirit's up top because they want to get their supports experience, and oftentimes getting farm is not always about farming the safest place. It's about getting your team the most potential farm. And Ember Spirit is able, since he's level 6, is able to farm anywhere pretty much relatively safely, unless he gets hit by a black hole or an Enigma stun chain into a Nick, like Enigma stun into Nyx stun into Invoker Tornado into Shackle. Like, that'll kill him. obviously. But other than that, he's not too worried about it. And he can see from on the map that Shadow Shaman... Here, let's go back to the map. We can see on the map that Nyx Assassin and Shadow Shaman are both mid. So he has nothing to worry about. He's just farming here. And that frees up for Nature's Prophet and Ancient Apparition, wherever he is. Ancient Apparition to be able to farm mid as well, because Ancient Apparition is level 5.5, and he's just looking to hit level 6. So he's going to go get some experience to try and get level 6. Nature's Prophet also needs a level 6. So like both Scythe and Titan are insanely close to getting. Well, the courier almost died going to Faceless Void, but yeah, they're both insanely close to big playmaking, just being that level 6. So the Perseverance does come out, and why he gets Perseverance before getting the other two parts is that getting the Ring of Health is very safe, and making the Perseverance gives him plus 10 damage on top of the mana regen. The mana regen is not terribly huge. He's got Tread, so he can Tread switch, and he has enough mana for all his spells easily then. But the Tread switching helps him out, but the plus 10 damage is why he gets Perseverance. So if you see, Faceless Void will actually... He toggled on his Ring of Basilisk in order to push the lane. One thing that you can really do... I'm going to pause it here again for a second because I want to talk just a little bit. So if you turn on the Basilisk when you're pushing, you get... you can push the lane better, which, I mean, is pretty intuitive, right? You turn it off when you're farming so you can keep the creep equilibrium, so you can just keep the creeps in a safe spot. If you're pushing, you turn on the Ring of Basilisk. One thing that I've seen that's really high level and really awesome is Ice, when he plays Invoker and gets a Basilisk, will mess up the enemy's last hits with his Ring of Basilisk. He will turn on the Ring of Basilisk when the opponent's trying to get a last hit to give it that 2 bonus armor, which is enough just not to get the last hit. So there's some really cool stuff you can do with just little things like that. Like it. Granted, you don't need to worry about it at your level of play unless you are actually a professional player, and even most professional players don't do this. Like I said, it was Ice, and I haven't seen too many any other players really do that besides Ice. Because it's situational to get a Ring of Basilisk as an Invoker, but if you do, he turns it on before they get try to get the last hit, then turns it off, then turns it back on again, just to keep the creep wave stable, but to deny the last hits. And like I said, you don't have to worry about that in your games. There are far more important things, like just securing your last hits, securing your farm, securing your experience. Doing little things like that can give you that extra 1%, but focus on the 99% of it. Anyway, there's really cool things you can do, even with a simple item like a Ring of Basilisk. Not to mention all sorts of other items, but yeah. So he's just going to turn it on for when he pushes, and then turn it off again when he wants to farm up some more. Probably right after this creep, he's going to just turn it off, I imagine. There he goes. Yep, he turned it off right there. Cool. So, one thing I want to note is that Shadow Fiend is actually going for a Midas. And there are 2 reasons behind that. So, Miracle got shut down in the early game pretty hard. Even though he does have 66 last hits, he died twice. He died twice before 10 minutes, which is really bad on a mid, or, if you're a mid carry role and you die twice before 10 minutes, that's bad. So, he needs to catch up in levels. And also gold to try and hit that mid-game dominance, so he gets the Hand of Midas to try and get his levels up. So once this game reaches the 25-minute mark, he is a powerhouse once again. That's why he gets the Midas. He wants the experience as well as the gold, but the experience more so to be able to be a dominating force 10 minutes from now. That's what he's focusing on. So, again, Yamate is turning on the ring when he wants to push and turning it back off. So, cool stuff. One other thing I want to note is that Net has been farming very well for the support role that he's been in. He has 37 last hits, and enough for his Blink Dagger now that the tower went down. So, being level 6 and not having Epicenter, I guess he doesn't have enough mana for it. 175, yeah. It would cost all of his mana just for a Burrow Strike into Epicenter, and then he would die. So, he opts to not get it yet, but he does have a Blink Dagger already. A 12-minute Blink Dagger on a number 4 support is really powerful. So, yeah. Alright, so they're just trying to put pressure on this lane. Scythe is level 6, so he's going to be able to pick off the Ancient Apparition here. But Yamate was able to teleport up top against this tower push, pick up all this gold, so he gets 300 gold from this. That's how much those Serpent Wards are worth, because they have you get 10 wards, so he's able to get 10 wards, 30 gold each ward, 300 gold just for free. And he was actually able to get more gold farming those wards than he was able to do, even trying to get a hero kill. So, net right here, he has his Blink Dagger. He just hit level 7. He's got Epicenter, or he will have Epicenter. So, he'll be able to jump in on this. And the thing is, he won't be able to kill this all by himself, but Ancient Apparition will have Ice Blast in 7 seconds. They'll wait for that. And they'll also TP in Nature's Prophet, because that's a free TP. He does not have his ult, though. If Nature's Prophet had his ult as well, that would be very, very good for them. But he does not. So he may or may not TP in. But Ember Spirit will probably want to come in as well. Possibly Faceless Void, but probably just Ember Spirit. And if they coordinate this up like perfectly, they'll be fine. So Net charges up, and he goes in with the Ancient Apparition ult, and they're able to get a kill on the Invoker, it looks like, but then these two both get sucked up by the Black Hole. So, like, Ohai tried to come in and help too, but he just couldn't do enough, and it was really good coordination to set up those 3, but Titan was caught off guard as far as how many heroes were there. Trading the Invoker for Nature's Prophet and Sand King isn't really worth it. Even though Invoker was their safe lane farmer, he's only 1 level ahead of either of them. So what they do is they take the rest of the team, Ancient Apparition on top of Faceless Void, and they're able to get a kill in the Enigma as well, and just bounce it out, deny the tower, which is huge. They basically denied like 1,000 gold from Scythe by denying that tower. So they were able to come in. KYXY did end up getting the kill in the Enigma just from his sleight of fist, but they were able to save the tower and come in. Like I said, it would have been nicer on Titan if they knew so many people were there. If they would have coordinated Faceless Void's ult on top of Sand King's ult, then they would have been able to clear up 3 heroes without any deaths. But instead, it's a 2-for-2 trade. And right now, we're going to see Ember Spirit's just going back mid, getting some more farm. Probably pushing this tier 1 mid, because Ohai has creeps, and they're able to push right now. So, you know, we see Scythe sees this push coming. Sentry Ward is placed right there just for the Nyx. Like, they know Nyx could be nearby. But the Tornado EMP is just powerful. Look at that. Ohai lost half his health, or all his mana and half his health from that. KYXY comes back in. Ancient Apparition ult destroys Nyx. So check this out. Oops. I accidentally backed up there, so we'll go ahead and speed up through this. So KYXY is going to have some pretty good jukes here. He lays this ward right here, and then he goes up here, which said Invoker and Enigma are both chasing him up here. They pretty much were put in a pickle as far as which way to go, because he's essentially both places at the same time, but that little juke right there was enough to get him out safely. Another power of Ember Spirit. The ability to get away after that. So, tower is secured. Miracle is just, like I said, he's catching up in his farm. He's going to get his BKB, and that's going to be the go signal for Scythe to go fight. Like, Shadow Fiend will have his BKB. That means he'll be able to be in the middle of fights. We're going to see a Blink Dagger come up on Enigma here in just a little bit. And, you know, Invoker has Phase, Drums, Force Staff as a safe lane farm. And so he's not really going to be able to just hold on much from that. Just like, that's not a late game build. That's, you know, a standard typical mid game Invoker build. Shadow Fiend is actually a higher farm priority than Invoker is right now, I would say. Shadow Fiend actually has 10 more last hits because of his ability to flash farm. So, you can see both teams are looking at Roshan. Miracle does bottle the Invis. This Sentry Ward is to just stop anything from coming their way. Nature's Prophet does not quite have Shadow Blade, but they know he'll get it soon since he had Midas and Phase Boots. And they're really right about that. It's really close. It's just a couple hundred gold away. And with that one tree, Titan now knows what's up. So, what's really cool... Here, actually, let's back up. So this fight, we're going to slow this down because a lot of stuff goes on during this team fight. And I want you guys to catch it. So I'm going to slow down this team fight just so that you guys can see what's going on and I can explain it. I'm going to go through it a couple times possibly. We'll see. But there's a lot going on in a very short time frame, and it's a very volatile team fight. You'll see what I mean when we get into it. So let's go ahead and go into it. I'm going to be slowing it down to like half or quarter speed. So what happens is right here, Titan knows that Roshan is going on, but they see the Nyx Assassin up here. So they're just like, okay, we're going to pick off Nyx Assassin and then go into the Roshan and secure Rosh. So what they do is they go in, Searing Chains on both of them. This Invis rune right here on Miracle is really good for him. And what really crushes the other team is if we look, Poulsen was able to get a massive EMP off. Believe it or not, this is just like how huge this is for the team. So Sand King already has a low mana pool. He has 200 mana, not able to cast his ult, but now he has no mana. And they try to save the Nyx, they can't. But now Faceless Void has 0 mana. Sand King has 0 mana, and they're still able to fight Roshan here. Ember Spirit has mana just from Bottle and Wand and things like that, and he did not get hit by the EMP. But this low mana on the team, Sand King was able to get enough mana back from his Wand to be able to get in the middle of the fight. But he was not able to use his ult, and that stopped him from being able to do anything. So I also want to go back here. Miracle was able to stay alive because of that Invis rune, but he also has a bottle. What he does right here is really, really cool. So he runs back here. Normally, as you can see, he's actually starting his ultimate way back here. Normally when you're like, oh, I'm Shadow Fiend, I'm going to cast my ult, you would want to cast it right here, right? You want to make sure you're in the middle doing as much damage as possible. But here, Miracle does for the much safer, but still really good route. He starts casting his Requiem of Souls way back here. And what this does is this lets him get the debuff for Requiem Souls on his enemy team. So one thing that many people don't know about Requiem of Souls is that it has a debuff on the enemy that lowers their physical damage by 50% after he casts it. And it also slows them by 20%. So yeah, it does do a lot of damage, but if Miracle dies right now, his souls will be cut in half. He won't be there for the team, and it would be a really bad position. And since he only has 480 hit points right now, you know, any one thing could pop him. Like, you could see just a Searing Chain Sleight of Fist combo kill him. And he knows that, so he goes down here, starts casting his ult, and it actually lowers the damage by 50% on these heroes before they get that attack off. So he's able to kill Ancient Apparition just from coming in like that. And the Black Hole, very well spent on the Faceless Void. He didn't have quite enough mana to jump away, so they didn't necessarily need to do that, but that didn't matter. Ohai just got his Shadow Blade finished, but the Sentry Ward that they placed down here just able to kill him. And so what KYXY did here one more thing. What KYXY did here is what normally goes through people's heads when they're playing a game if you don't stop to think about it. So, as we can see, Yamate is right here. Ohai is like, oh, I'm going to join this fight too. So, he's up here. He teleports in up here to go in and try and help out his buddy Yamate. And then at the same time, KYXY is like, oh, I should help out my team. When in reality, if we look at this right now, best case scenario, they were looking at a 4v3. A 4v3 was the best case scenario with, you know, a half mana, half health Ember Spirit and then Nature's Prophet against a 0 mana getting chased by the entire team Faceless Void. Now, if Chronosphere was ready, that would be a different story, but he had no mana from that EMP up here, like I was talking about before. This EMP was so huge that 30 seconds later enabled them to get the Faceless Void kill for free because he did not have enough mana for his ultimate and he did not have enough mana to time walk away. And that one EMP was enough to secure them that kill. So Ohai comes in, he's like, oh, I can get a kill on Chibi. So he goes and then realizes he can't, but they have this ward right here. And then KYXY jumps in and is like, I can help my team. I'm going to make sure he can get away, but that does not work either. So it's just a normal case of one of those miscommunications that happens on a regular basis. And it's hard to go like against your heart and you want to, you know, you want to stop everything. So like when you're playing in games, it's like, oh man, you know, I'm going to do this and do that, and you know, if everything works out perfectly, I'll get a rampage and then they'll all die. Don't think like that ever. Like, don't think if the stars align, this will be awesome, because you know what? The stars don't align 99.999% of the time. And you don't want to do that, and if you die, that's really bad. And if you die and your friend dies, that's really, really, really bad. So, don't go into the YOLO mode, as I'd like to say it in my head. The mode where you're like, if everything's perfect, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this game by myself. Done. Yes. No, don't do that. Do not do that at all. Just try to keep cool, calm, collected, and think logically. Just say, hey, I know I want to save my teammate, but will I be able to? Honestly, will I be able to? And what happens if I fail? Just ask yourself that before you go in and just try to do something. You're like, if I fail, we both die. If I succeed, he might live. Maybe. So, and then just try to play the risks out before just jumping in there and then going for it. And that's just normal human instinct, is to want to be able to protect and help out other people. And it's just, you have to go against that sometimes and say, hey, let's just cut our losses instead. So that's what happens. And yeah. And it ends up being a team wipe for Titan as well as a Roshan for Scythe. Or a team wipe on Titan. So Scythe just got a massive, massive lead if we look at the leading chart. Ah, look at that. So it actually swings back crazy in Scythe's favor from that fight. Like I said, I don't like to look at those much because they just have a lot of information that, like, yeah, sure, one team's ahead, one team's not ahead, but there are just so many different factors. Like, you want to look at the swings and the differences based on certain heroes. So this is annoying, and why Ancient Apparition is picked. Because Ancient Apparition, down here, was able to just force Miracle back to base. Miracle does have his BKB, so this is fight time. This is fight time for Scythe, and it showed because they got the team wipe and they got the Aegis, so they're in a really good spot right now. They're able to just show their powerhouse mid-game strength. Probably one more item on Invoker soon. He does have the Staff of Wizardry, and probably going for a Yule's soon, just to break up their team fight because of their all of their lockdown and right click, just as long as they can disrupt that, they're able to win these fights. And that's what Invoker's goal is. Since Shadow Fiend already has the BKB, Polison does not have to worry about a BKB as nearly as much. Polison also has hasted move speed because he's Quas Wex with Phase Drums Force Staff. Oh. Let's see what... Okay. Oh, here's another thing I want to talk about. So, teamwork coordination here for Titan is just like bar none the coolest ever. So what they do is they suspect somebody's over here. So KYXY pops his Flame Guard, jumps in, Searing Chains, and that gives the Ancient Apparition enough time to cast his all on Chibi. So Chibi's not doing well at all. He's low on health. Net blinks in, cuts him. KYXY is able to get the kill. So Net can't blink out for a little bit, but Yamate goes in. He misjudges the EMP time. And the reason why he does this is because it changed recently in 6.80 with the EMP damage buff. They also made the timer consistent. The timer used to go from like 3.5 or 4 seconds down to 1.2 seconds, depending on what level of Wex you had. But now it's just a straight 2.4 seconds. And the tornado, or 2.6 seconds. And the tornado lift duration is always it's variant on how many points you have in Quas. So like the EMP is always 2.6 seconds. Just good to know. Back into the game. So he doesn't pay attention to this. He actually runs back and forth a little bit before doing this. But KYXY is able to just jump in and get the kill. And Titan got 2 kills for free. Like, the level of team execution there on everything that happened is just incredible. Like, they were able to just jump in, get the kill on Enigma, which didn't look like they were going to get, and Shadow Shaman just immediately. KYXY stacks this Remnant, and since it's 3v5, they're going to be able to push here, but they don't have Faceless Void's ult. So, like, that's one detriment, and Yamate just goes back to farming because he knows he can stick around, but he can't do anything anymore. He has no mana. He could jump in and die. That's pretty much all he would do. So he's getting the BKB so that he can at least secure his mana for the next team fight. Yeah, so they just go back and they continue farming because fighting that tower would have taken way too long for them. And by way too long, I mean even if it takes an extra 30 seconds to a minute to establish the team fight, then the enemy team would be back up for them. So that they just maximized their gains. They took out the Shadow Shaman, took out the Enigma, and then got out of there. That's what they did. So Ancient Apparition just with his ult once again. Ohio actually is just being super annoying, just pushing out the lanes, doing what a Nature's Prophet can do best, which is be everywhere on the map at any given point in time. And we actually see a smoke up from Scythe here. So Scythe is going to smoke up. We have Net up here, and they're going to look for him. Miracle is right here. So Scythe is actually coming, and they know that Miracle is in a, quote-unquote bad position. So they're just going to use him as bait and then counter gank. As you can see, they're going all the way down here. They're going to go down here and just try to pick off somebody. So they're all sitting right here. Poor Shadow Shaman got left behind, but everybody else is sitting here. And guess what? They take the bait. So Net goes over here. Miracle's right here, but he has an Aegis. So he's just farming. And then they go and hit him. So he's down, but then Chibi comes around from behind, and then he black holes his teammates. This gets wasted. Faceless Void's ultimate, the Chronosphere, just gets completely wasted because Chibi was able to get in there in time. And then Nyx Assassin is right behind. He reflects the damage from everything and then is able to just get the kill. Like, they were able to burst down Ember Spirit before he had a chance to move. And Sand King took down. They lost one Aegis for it. but they were able to burn everything that Titan had. And this is the kind of mid-game dominance I was talking about earlier with Scythe. So that even without Shadow Shaman coming there, they were able to take on the entire enemy team just handily and take down 2 towers from it. They'll probably get this tier 2. We'll see. They're actually forcing down the tier 2, so yeah, they're definitely going to get it now. But just this mid-game dominance from Scythe, it's just so scary. And they're trying to catch up from this. Like, Titan knows that if they can just hold on a little bit longer, that they'll be okay. Shadow Fiend is going for the Eye of Scythe. So, you know, that happens. He's getting the Eye of Scythe here. I'm just checking to see what's next. Cool. Alright, so, boom. KYXY is going to be just farming and pushing up mid. We have Invoker and Shadow Fiend also in the jungle, just farming up. They're trying to protect the tower down here, but essentially, for right now, Titan will smoke, and they're trying to just go into the jungle and get something done. But we'll see here how it actually turns out. Sand King is channeling his ult. It's like a free kill in Miracle right here. And they totally just annihilated him. And like a good team, after, you know, 20 minutes into the game, they're always nearby. This EMP just crushes Ember. Look, you want just how much mana he lost from this. Without mana, he can't do anything. So he's at like 600, and he's down to 50. What he was able to do right before that EMP was he was able to get the Remnant to go off. So he drops a Remnant down here, just like before, so that it forces them to choose one of 2 different directions for him. He goes this way. He actually has a full magic wand, which is a saving grace against that EMP. Pops it, and then he's able to just hop out so he doesn't get hit by any more stuns, and then just dive away. You know, 73 hit points, 117 mana. That's why you get things like drums on him, because the drums saved his life. The mana, the extra health and mana from the drums saved his life right there. Enigma's trying to look for a kill on him, but he's not going to be able to get it. So they were able to, again, surgically, they were able to go in like a surgeon and just rip out the Shadow Fiend from Scythe. Just, no, he's not yours anymore. And then just go back. Like nothing happened. Like, they're able to, for the second time, be able to jump in, kill, jump out. The massive mobility between Sand King with a Blink Dagger, because he has Blink Dagger, stun, and then an invis move. Like, Sand King is pretty much unkillable at that level, and Ember Spirit is a similar way. So they're able to jump in and out with those 2 heroes, while at the same time firing Ancient Apparitions all and Nature's Prophet all. That's really, really cool, that you can just surgically, I've used that word quite a bit, but I mean it, you just go in, cut with the scalpel, get the kill, and then get out. Like, smallest incision possible on the enemy lines. It's just really cool that you're able to just go in, get the kill, go out. I mean, I just think that's awesome. Sorry. But, yeah, it's just being able to just abuse their mobility, they're able to get extra things from it. So, Nature's Prophet is making a Necrobook, Necronomicon, and then both Enigma and Ancient Apparition are getting Gems of True Sight. So, the Gems of True Sight, I mean, like, it'll pretty much slow everything down, because they know Nature's Prophet has a Shadow Blade, and they know Nyx has Invis, but these ward placements are just killing it. Like, just having sentries everywhere just completely shuts down the Nyx. He knows that they know he's invisible, so he just has to try and go another way to see if he can get something to happen. Yeah. So, Ember Spirit is also getting farm, and he's close to his Battle Fury, which is what I was talking about. Like, he's able to transition this middle game into a late game dominance. He did not go straight for Battle Fury, because if he did, their team would have died. So he goes for the phase drums into Battle Fury build, which delays the Battle Fury, but keeps him alive and keeps him able to keep the Faceless Void safer. So, Scythe sees that they're kind of under a little bit of pressure now. Their mid-game dominance is going to start wearing off as soon as, you know, Faceless Void, who they actually gank very well. So they know they have to put pressure on this Faceless Void, because once he gets like any more items, he's going to be a huge threat to them. So what they do, they just set up a gank right here. Hex into EMP and just Shackle, and he's dead. Like, no mana, no health, nothing. Just nothing. So they're able to get the kill on him and then just keep going. So Scythe can't really push down this tier 3 with just a Faceless Void dead. They want to, but they can't. So Miracle's farming up mid. They might transition into taking down this mid tier 2, and KYXY knows this. So he sends out a Remnant there just in case. They are actually going for the tier 3 though. Shadow Shaman lays his wards up. It was a little premature because the rest of the team was there, so they're able to farm up the 300 gold once again. And then Scythe has to back off. So even though they were able to get a Faceless Void kill, they weren't able to convert it into anything else. In fact, KYXY got 300 gold out of it. I mean, they lost a third of their tier 3 tower damage, which is, you know, not little, but it was not a good conversion. They need to get massive conversions after getting wins like the Faceless Void carries down. So Scythe is, yeah, they're under pressure, but they're still sitting in a very good spot. Like, they're able to just go forward, and like I said, once Faceless Void gets his next item, which he's actually opting for the Aghanim Scepter, it'll be very hard for Scythe to get much done. The extra time on the ultimate, I don't even know how much it is. I think it's 2 extra seconds for Faceless Void. I don't even know if I can check it here. But anyway, we're going to say it's 2 extra seconds. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. So both teams are just smoking up trying to find each other right now, because one team fight right now can mean a huge deal. For Titan, it would mean Roshan is free. For Scythe, it would mean that the tier 3s would be able to get knocked down. And Titan is able to stall this game thanks to Nature's Prophet always being just anywhere on the map at times. Let's go ahead and check out this kill right here. So this is really cool what Nyx does. I'm really a huge fan of this. So right now, Ember Spirit casts his Flame Guard. So he has his Flame Guard cast. And then from there, Nyx knows this. He's invisible. Instead of going for the Vendetta, he pops his Carapace and blinks in, because the Carapace is able to just immediately stun Ember Spirit, and then Mana Burnt, and he's down. So that was really smart thinking on the part of Nyx Assassin to be able to do that. Shadow Shaman traps him in, and then right here, this is another really cool thing that Net ends up pulling off, is that Net is up here just waiting for this team fight. He channels his ulti as soon as Faceless Void's ult goes off. So he does that, and it actually, Enigma helps him out, because Enigma pulls him in, and Invoker is hit by the the Ancient Apparitions ult, and then able to just get the kill, because Net was on the low ground right here doing damage to both Enigma and Invoker, and they're just able to get these kills. And Ember Spirit died, but with the help of double Force Staffs, Faceless Void's able to get out, and he backtracks a couple of these hits, which really helps out a lot as well. Keeps him alive. But overall, good fight for Titan. Good fight for Titan. They were able to go 3 for 1. So they cannot complain about that at this point. It's becoming more apparent that they're just getting the favors. Like, their time is running out for Scythe. If Scythe can take down this Rax in the next few minutes, they'll be okay. But for now, Faceless Void is getting farm. And Faceless Void with farm is really scary. So he's just going to continue farming up. There's not really too much to talk about for now. People are just farming up moving as a group. I'm going to speed up through this a little bit to give you an idea. Ember Spirit does not get caught out. Yeah, as you can see, people are just farming up as groups. Like, there's not too much action going on. Shadow Fiend does have his Eye of Skady done, so he's pretty much like, he's sitting pretty good. He's going to be able to get another item fairly soon with that gold. He wants to make sure he still has enough for buyback, but that's about it. The Roshan is always a threat, so Titan's able to just keep a remnant in there to prevent that from happening. And it looks like we might see something happening here very soon. Oh no, they were able to get out of the jungle. So Titan is just farming the Scythe jungle, and Scythe, Chibi gets caught off guard just a little bit and ends up dying for it. Like, that's just the power of the mobility on Titan's team, is that if you just get caught out a little bit, and by caught out I mean if you are within blink stun range of a Sand King. See, he sees him and he's just like, stun. Like, if you can get that stun, he's dead, because it just goes in, sleight of fist, searing chains, and then that's it. Like, that's crazy, just the kind of power that this kind of mobility gives you. Okay, we'll go ahead and go back into it. Just Ember Spirit tied up with the Sand King really is powerful. So they're able to jump in here with the Faceless Void right here, able to take out the Shadow Shaman before he can do anything. And now it's 2 for nothing, for literally nothing. And what Titan's going to do is they're going to just force down this tower. Miracle does get his ultimate off, but got stuck inside of the ultimate of Faceless Void, the Chronosphere. And then the Yules actually ended up saving the life of Nyx Assassin, who got chronoed. So he's just searching for people right now. The massive range on the Tornado, once you get so many points up in Quasino X, is just huge. So that the travel distance is 3,200. It's as far as like a level 3 snipe. Wow, that can really be abused a lot. But right now, Titan wants to go and they want to Roche, but they can't, because they were able to pick off Shadow Shaman and Enigma before they were able to do anything. They still have their ultimates, and that makes it so they can't push into the Roche pit, because a single black hole inside of the Roche pit would kill just team wipe Titan, and they would probably lose a Rax, if not 2, just from that. Like, it could be the game if they do that. So they have to wait until Enigma is either dead or has used his black hole in order to take the Roshan fight. So what they're going to do is they're just going to play it safe and pressure this tier 2 for the time being, because without the tier 2, it's harder for it. That is the last tier 2 for Scythe, and they won't be able to pressure Roshan. So Scythe want to keep this tier 2 alive, and they'll spend whatever they can to try and keep this tier 2 tower alive. That way, this gives them the Roshan presence that they need in order to defend against a Roche, because Titan is now inside of the Roche pit territory and just wants to maintain it. Faceless Void is looking for a jump to ult. Net right behind him with an ult, so they don't come up, and Invoker tries to push them off, but does not get anything with his Tornado MP. Faceless Void gets crazy focused down, but Ned is there to save his life. Black King Bar and the Chronosphere is just able to clear up the Enigma and the Shadow Shaman once again, and they're not able to do anything from that. Miracle did build an F-Blade. I do want to talk a little bit about this F-Blade build. So in general, F-Blade on Shadow Fiend, you wouldn't normally think to get it, but in this case, it's a really, really smart decision. So if you look, the threats for Titan are Ember Spirit and Faceless Void. What can Faceless Void do if he is hit by F-Blade? He can just sit there like a wet noodle and just kind of flap around a little bit, and maybe cast a Chronosphere, and his ult is wasted. So like, the Blade is as good as a Hex. Even better if you have a lot of magic damage against the Faceless Void. And it just basically, it gives them one more lockdown for the team. If they can get that on, you know, on the Faceless Void or even the Ember Spirit, they can blow them up before they have a chance to move. So get that, and then on top of that, Blade gives a lot of stats. It gives more stats than a Butterfly and is cheaper. 40 agility and then 10 strength and 10 intelligence is nothing to scoff at. So that pickup is really, really smart by Miracle, because they can take out Faceless or Ember with it, and then they can win the team fights. As long as one of those heroes are gone, they can win the team fight. So he opts for the Ethereal Blade to go ahead and just pick off one of the big carries, or at least lock them down for the time being. Another option, if he was a strength hero, would be like a Heaven's Halberd, but since he's an agility hero, he can just get the Blade, and that does essentially, you know, a similar role for what they're looking for, which is that lockdown on the Ember Spirit, that lockdown on the Faceless Void. Faceless Void does have BKB, so it's harder to get that off during the ultimate, but, you know, Hex wouldn't do anything, and Heaven's Halberd wouldn't do anything either against the BKB. So, good pickup, smart pickup by Miracle in order to get that. And, I mean, he's not really being the first focus in fights, because he's already so big and tanky that he doesn't really need the Butterfly as much as he needs the Blade. So, right here, Titan's really, really going to try and Roshan. Even though Enigma still has Black Hole and Shadow Shaman still has his wards, they're going to try and do the Roshan. Ancient Apparition uses his ult to scout where the heroes are, and then they're probably just going to go into the pit right here, right soon, I imagine. The tier 2 is down, so that means Scythe can't teleport easily. They can't teleport easily to go defend the Roshan, and Titan can kill Roshan fairly quickly. With the Faceless Void and an Eagle Song on him, they can take him down in about, you know, 30 seconds or so. So Scythe really has to be on top of it in order to take it down, in order to defend against this. And right now they're going to start it, because in 5 seconds, when Nature's Call gets off, cooldown, nope, just start it before then. But they're starting the fight, and Nyx Assassin is going to scout the situation. So Ember and Ancient Apparition are right here because they have enough damage to take it out. These trees are just for vision. That tornado was actually cast way up here, but Nyx Assassin does get caught off guard. Does get hit by. So BKBs pop just to take out the Nyx Assassin before anything happens, and then Ancient Apparition also dies from it. The Chronosphere goes off, and this just shows the power of like Yamate right now. He's just able to take out. So the Aghanim Scepter was able to give him that extra time. It gave him an extra second. Net came in and he used his ult, and then Faceless Void uses his ult, even though he's getting picked by the Shadow Fiend. He does get hexed, and Yuled by Invoker, but like this extra second that he had on his scepter was able to get him that kill, and then he's really stuck right here. Ned is able to save his life, but Yamate is just going crazy, just taking out their team like one at a time. We'll go back and we'll check out the other half of the fight after this, but Yamate is able to just clear up like 3 heroes at the same time. So in the other half of the fight, we see that we've got the tornado on the Nature's Prophet. He does have Hex now, so he's able to, the Scythe of Ice is able to sleep, but Faceless Void was able to take out the Nyx Assassin here. Titan's X died to Miracle's last attack, and so Miracle right here is just on the same part as Yamate. He's taking the hitting of the entire Titan team, and the other So Titan is all looking at Miracle, except for Yamate, who's looking at all of Scythe, and Miracle's just able to just hold off the Titan squad. Ohai's able to get a jump on him because of the Shadow Blade, and then he's stuck in this position right here. And it looks like he's gonna kill because right here, just Nature's Prophet dies, and he's gonna go for the kill on Ember Spear. So this is when he like sees the glory in his eyes. I'm going to take down the Ember Spear. Sees the Sand King and just like, oh gosh, I'm gonna TP out. And he almost makes it, but Faceless Void gets an attack off and kills him. So Faceless Void is able to get that last hit and get that kill, and also clean up the 300 gold from the Serpent Wards once again. I mean, it's more or less 300 gold, but just think of it that way. You know, 300 gold for cleaning that up is pretty good. And the Roshan is still alive, and Titan can do it now. They can finish off the Roshan because the Enigma still has Black Hole, so they can't really do it. Like, the wards are down, but Black Hole has not been cast in quite some time. Poor Chibi has not been able to cast his Black Hole like he wants to in quite some time. So, like I said before and always, Titan has to get their advantage. Like, they're looking for their advantage, and then all of that gold. They're looking for some form of advantage, and then they'll take the Roche. Even though Scythe has 2 heroes down, they're still not able to really do it super safely. They are able to just jump in and take it quickly right here. Net is scouting it out for them so that they don't die, but there you go. So they were able to take down Roshan. Faceless Void got the Aegis. So he has the Aegis. He has a 60-second cooldown on a 6-second ult. So another thing to note is that the cooldown is so low that in the later game he can actually use it twice, especially since he has Aegis. Assuming he has mana to do anything, which he just with the Nyx Assassin and the EMP, he has just enough mana to use Chronosphere, and that's it. So Scythe has a very good team to siege from. They can siege enemies away, but the problem is their mid game dominance is definitely dwindling. So Faceless Void's able to just pop his BKB, and they're able to take out the Nyx Assassin with the Sand King's Geometry Sight. There's Sand King, who was originally the Ancient Apparitions, but Net has not died in a long time, and the Veil of Discord on top of the Ancient Apparitions Ice Aura Vortex does a lot of damage. So one thing I want to note here is that Faceless Void has, you know, enough mana for both the spells. He casts the EMP, forces Faceless Void to go forward or take that hit. So he goes forward, casts his ult. Don't mind the animation. He's still attacking, I promise. So he was able to get the kill. And then the Invoker goes down too. So, like, Chibi gets off a great Black Hole. He gets 4 people in a Black Hole. So if Miracle can just clean that up, then, you know, they can hold off. Like, never underestimate the power of a Black Hole. But unfortunately, the rest of the team was already dead or buying back at that time. So Veil of Discord on top of it, and Miracle does go down and buys back. But it's not looking terribly good for Scythe. They have 3 heroes dead. The only 2 heroes they have there are the ones that bought back. Nyx Assassin does come back in, but Faceless Void is able to just pop his BKB and kill him again. So Faceless Void has like no health, but it doesn't matter because he has the Aegis. And good game. The Shadow Fiend's down forever. They've just got Invoker left, essentially. And there you go. That is the game. So, yeah, that is the game. We can check out the score screen here, just so you guys can see what's going on. But there's the match ID right there, 603556393, if you want to check it out. But in general, this game just ended up just being like, you know, a time thing. Like, it was super, super time related. So there were timings that neither team was good. One team was good, or the other team was good. So the beginning of the game, nobody really had anything outstanding for the early game. They had Nature's Prophet, who doesn't come online until, you know, 6 or so. He can earlier, but he really doesn't much. They had Enigma on Scythe, who doesn't come online early either as well. I mean, he can push towers early, but he doesn't come online until mid-game. Shadow Shaman, who's not an early game support, he's more of a mid-late game support, mid-game in particular. And just no team really had an advantage early game. Like, the Ancient Apparition was a good early game hero, but there wasn't really much else beyond that as far as just like early game dominance. They had the Sand King and the Ancient Apparition supports on Titan, and that kept them alive in the early game, because otherwise they would have had nothing. Kept them alive in the early mid game. But the mid game, Scythe had a clear advantage, and you saw it. They were able to wipe out the entire team of Titan and take Roche, take the Roshan, and do a team wipe mid game, because they had Invoker and Shadow Fiend and Enigma and Shadow Shaman and Nyx Assassin, who all, like, at the same time got a massive amount of power. So they had to win in this opportunity window. So they had a timing window to attack, and they did. But the Faceless Void was able to get that last item. He was able to get that scepter, and then from then on out, Titan had the advantage. Like, they had, even if the farm level was even, Titan was eventually going to win the game. And Scythe knew this, so they ended up putting the pressure on during that time. But did not work out for them. Unfortunate for Scythe. Fortunately for Titan, it did work out for them. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about the game. If you liked it, feel free to, you know, subscribe, share it on Twitter, Facebook, whatever you can. And just check out my video. I'll be on again tomorrow at 1 p.m. where I'm going to talk about mid lane heroes and their dominance in game, and how to be a highly active mid game hero and be able to just control the game by being a mid game hero. How games are influenced a lot by what happens from the mid hero, the hero in the mid lane. And I'll show you a couple of games of pro players who end up taking their team and just dominating. Like, just, you can tell that because of the high impact heroes that they're playing in those games, that they're able to hold together a team even if the team is not doing that well as a whole. And yeah, so tune in tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be back here again. It'll also be on my YouTube after I'm done. But thanks for tuning in, guys. RoopleeTV, episode number 7. Yeah. Peace out, and I will see you guys